Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette. We're so glad you're with us today for a big surprise with us. We advertised Alex Karl, our ESA Capcom here, and we've got Sian Proctor, astronaut on the St. Jude's Dragon mission, for better words on there with... how are you? Welcome.
I'm doing good. Thank you. Thank you for having
Welcome,
me.
Alex. Welcome.
Mark, good to be back.
Well, great to be back here. Both of you are here because...
Axiom's launching to space on Wednesday, the
That's-
Axiom 3 mission.
And Sian, Dr. Proctor came in here with a group of people from our new partners, the National Space Society. And Mike Mongo's here, standing here. We're going to get Mike involved. Of course, you know him from Yuri's Night, if you've ever been there, which I have many times. And our Shuttle Fest will be April 13th before the Yuri's Night. So we'll tell you all about that. But we had to grab Sian in here just to say hi. Pardon me?
Turn the mic a little bit.
Okay, we'll turn the mic a little bit because I use my outdoor voice. We got Marty Winkles behind the board again here. Marty, we're glad that you're healthy and back here. Marty and I have done this since March 23rd, 2020, born out of the pandemic. We are up to episode 970
Wow.
today in our little humble podcast here. And and I've learned that when someone comes into our museum to grab them, so Dr. Sian Proctor was so happy that you found our museum. You've been here just about a half an hour. Give everybody out there your impression of the American Space Museum.
It's actually really fantastic. It's like a hidden gem here in Titusville. I didn't know it was here, and I've been to Titusville many times, and so I feel so fortunate to find it. And so when you come to watch a launch, you got to definitely come check it out. And what I love is you've got a whole area dedicated to women in space.
Yes, we do. We're quite proud of that. Our executive director, Karan, Conklin, and Nick Enix, our collection manager, put that together over 4 years ago as a temporary exhibit. We had astronaut Mike McCulley do it. 75 women are on the walls there. Everyone that's been to space. All 3 NASA female directors are up there and more. And we're glad that you really enjoyed that. And what a thrill to have you here. Everybody that watches the show regularly, like Dave Stange up there in Michigan. We've got people in Australia watching, Cliff Watson in Pomona, Australia. I'll bet you're surprised to see Dr. Proctor on here. We're going to talk to Eric here,
Alex.
who's had is dealing with one of the astronauts, the ESA astronauts going up. Who's that that's going to be launched that you're here to watch and support?
We're here to support Marcus Wandt from Sweden.
I knew it'd be Wandt, W-E-N-D-T, of course, in there from Sweden. The second Swedish astronaut to go up
Yes.
in space history.
Yes. The first one was Christer Fuglesang. I think he flew in the early 2000s. I think he had 2 missions, also installing the Columbus module on the ISS. And for a while, he actually held the record of the European with the most spacewalks.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he did like 4, I think, and was only like
Fogelson. Yeah.
Fuglesang.
So I'm sure
Fuglesang.
Okay. All right. I'll let these Europeans use their dialect, and
And I
I'll use
apologize to all Swedish
Dixie
listeners here.
dialect
I might have-
in there. We've got behind you here a toasted marshmallow on top of a SpaceX spaceship there. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that is the one of the 2 SpaceX recovery vessels when the either Crew Dragon or Cargo Dragon comes back from space. They parachute down and land in the ocean, usually the Atlantic, either the Atlantic or the Gulf of Mexico. And that boat is then fishing the capsule out, and if getting the experiments out that need to be like temperature controlled, for example, or if there's crew on board, they get the folks out. I mean, Sian probably has been
I know it well.
entered the
Yes.
boat from the other side. Yeah, I was lucky enough to be on the boat like that for these Crew 4 landing.
I've got a picture of you there we're going to show
And,
on that. There.
so-
But
so
both
it's,
of you have been
we entered
involved
the-
with that.
yeah.
You inside that capsule. I mean, refresh everybody, Dr. Proctor, when was your mission and how all that evolved?
Yeah, I was part of the Inspiration 4 mission, which was the first all-civilian mission to orbit. We launched in September 15th, 2021, and we spent 3 days in space. And I was the mission pilot. I'm the first ever woman commercial astronaut, mission pilot, and so far the only African American woman to be a mission pilot. And so it was a fantastic experience when the Dragon came home. It was the first time that they had heard a sonic boom over the coast of Florida during our mission since the shuttle times.
Yes.
Because up until then, SpaceX had flown Bob and Doug in crew demo, and then they had crew 1, crew 2, and then we were the 4th ever SpaceX human launch. And all 3 other ones splashed down in the Gulf, and we splashed down in the Atlantic.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about that. You can stay a little bit, can't you?
I think so.
Yeah,
I don't
good,
think the
okay.
people who I got
Good,
the keys, so
You got okay, good. Because I'm going to go through my pictures that I've done here. You've got a beautiful piece of artwork on your clothing there. There's a story behind that and the launch Wednesday.
Yes, that's correct. So I actually won my seat to space as an artist and a poet. I wrote a poem called Space to Inspire, and that's how I got my seat on Inspiration 4. And so I painted in space, and I'm an artist, and I actually have a new art piece flying to space, a physical piece that's flying to space with Axiom 3 on Wednesday.
Painting in space. Now, our good friend Nikki Stott did the first watercolors in space.
That's correct.
What medium did you do?
I also did watercolors, so she trailblazed the way for me. Thanks, Nicole.
Yeah. I would have loved. Did you make a movie of how that water?
I did.
Because she said she didn't make a movie of it, and I know what's going on there with water in space. It's like a ball, and you put something in it. That had to be fascinating.
Well, she did that, I think 10 years before I did. And so the techniques have changed somewhat. I have a YouTube video. If you go to Dr. Sian Proctor on YouTube, you can see my painting in space. And now you can bring up pre-filled paintbrushes with water in them. And so you squeeze the paintbrush, and then the water will come up onto the bristles, and because of surface tension, it stays. And then you use surface tension to go and swirl into your watercolor, and again, it sticks to your brush because of surface tension, and then you can apply it to your canvas. So it was a lot easier than I thought it would ever be. The hard, challenging part is that you got to manage your own energy because you're moving as you're trying to paint. But SpaceX helped me create this beautiful art set with lots of Velcro, so I could stick things in places, and you'll see that all in the video.
Well, check that out. Please promote yourself. Do you have a website?
Yes, I do. And my website is Space to Inspire. That's space with the number 2 and then inspire, all one word, .art. And I have a whole collection of art and my journey on that website.
Well, we'll be promoting you on that on our future Stay Curious programs here. And I hope that we can, brace you a little bit with things we do here at the museum and so forth. Let's go through this little program that we put together here. Just thinking we've got Alex and only Alex here. There's our Stay Curious logo. The American Space Museum for over 20 years has been preserving the birth of America's space age here in what we call its delivery room, Brevard County. And we're real proud of that. And you saw some of the artifacts. But what our program does is particularly promote the shuttle era. We're just eat up with the 30-year decade of shuttle, that 3-decade era of the shuttle that changed the way we look at life today. There's no doubt about it, with the beautiful International Space Station overhead. And we're glad we got Marty back. Marty, my co-producer and partner in crime all this time. Good to see you back, my friend. He had a little bout of this respiratory thing going around. And let's look at a big picture of Marty there out there at the Rocket Center there. That's when the Germans were following you around doing that documentary, the PBS, German Broadcasting System. It's not PBS, but their equivalent. What would be the call letters of that?
Was it orange?
Yes.
ZDF.
ZDF. Yep, ZDF. And they were here for the Artemis launch in August, and that was a really fun circus, except for the launch didn't happen until November in there. So, Marty, great to have you back, my friend. I was out today talking to Tom Jones there. Tom Jones has got this great book, Space Shuttle Stories. I said I'm going to take a picture with you, Tom, and we're going to promote your book out there. A great book. Each page is someone's comments of that mission on there. So Tom will be out there all week if you're in town. And then there's a luncheon that many of us are going to with the National Space Society and the Astronaut Memorial Foundation Friday. So Tom's become a good friend of the museum. And Marty, we'll never forget that nice dinner we had with him, will we? Have you ever gone to dinner with an astronaut and they want to know more about you than talk about them? And that's how Tom is. He went around the table and asked everybody, what'd you do for a living? Where'd you grow up? And so forth. Just a real engaging guy. Tom Jones from Baltimore, Maryland. So he's happy that the Ravens are advancing the football thing there. There we are. We wanted to get, I'm a little bit nervous, I'll admit here. I don't often get surprised with somebody as wonderful as Dr. Sian Proctor and all that you've done. And you know, I got to speak of the bravery of what you did there. We'll talk about that in a minute. Moon Hut. We had a good meal there, didn't we, my
Very
friend?
good meal. Yes.
An old establishment that now has been revived. There's Michelle on the left and Wendy on the right. Served us our meal. Of course, was chatterboxing about how we might have events there. If you're local, you'll enjoy it. And it is resurrected an old 60s hangout. Marty, that you said you were at the old Moon Hut, right?
Yeah, quite a few years ago.
Well, I looked at the old menu. The hamburger there was about, $14 hamburger with everything. It was 59 cents in 1963 for the same moon burger, I think, there. But so there's where we met.
Yeah.
You came into our museum about 4 years ago, really, I think. What was your first trip here? What mission?
Well, the first trip was actually to get familiar for this trip where we met. And I was lucky enough to be in town for Sian's launch.
Oh, yay.
So I saw it from here. It was beautiful.
That's
it
a
was
lot of people said
amazing.
that it was
Yes.
a beautiful launch. We launched just after sunset. And so, and without any delays.
Now, Sian and Alex looked at each other and says, last time I saw you was
Paris.
in Paris.
Yes.
And here you meet in Titusville, Florida, of all places. You can't make that stuff up, can
It's
you?
a nice surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was that occasion?
We were in there for IAC. Yep, the International Astronomical Congress.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right. Yep, I'll call you out on those acronyms. Also.
I gotta take that's
All right.
Astronautical Congress.
Astronautical Congress.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the artist. That's not the artist league.
No, this is it's a
that's
big
the IAAA.
yeah, yes,
yeah,
that's
right,
correct. It's a big international conference that happens every year somewhere around the world.
Yeah. Well, Alex, we will talk about you here in just a second. You're a you're a contracted employee for ESA, the European Space Agency.
Yes.
One of many Eurocoms. We call them Capcoms, but you're a Eurocom. You talk to the ESA astronauts on the International Space Station and the human link to them around the world. Like we had lunch yesterday. You just come back from kind of an important goodbye for your astronaut, Marcus.
Yes. So ESA is used to send people with NASA usually on the UCV flights to the International Space Station. As you may know, and I know we touch upon this later on also. Currently, we have the command of the space station is European astronaut Andreas Mogensen from Denmark. And so we are used to working with NASA on this. So now it's the first time that ESA is flying an astronaut on Axiom.
Yeah.
So of course, there are many things that are new, but there are also many things we want to stay the same so that all astronauts know, okay, this is what I can expect, and this is what my friends and family can expect that I can invite to the launch. And one of those events is back in the shuttle era, I think it was called the Wave Across the Ditch.
Right, yes.
Now it's called the Wave Across. There's no more ditch.
Right. There was a ditch between where the shuttle was and they go outside and all that.
And we still do that for the USCV launches. And this is then all 4 crew members together, and then they have their friends and family, and it's a great event. It's like the second highlight just next to the launch. And so we wanted that for our astronaut as well.
You had quite a turnout. You have a lot of Europeans coming over here to support this launch.
Yeah, definitely. We have about 100 people from Marcus' friends and family. And so we arranged a wave off yesterday for Marcus and his friends and family. And that went very well. Everybody was very happy. Happy to see the astronaut in quarantine, ready to go to space.
We're going to see some pictures of them here in a second. There's the Axiom 3 logo up there. Those of you that don't know what Axiom is all about, I'm going to show you here in just a second, because if you follow Stay Curious, you do know. Others of you, it might flip you out a little bit. Here's the crew. Let me get my cheat sheet on the names of the crew here, unless you know them by heart, my friend. I'd love. We've got
3 out of 4. Well, I have some trouble with the Alper's last name, the correct pronunciation.
Well, you've got which one is the turkey guy? The shorter one or the tall guy on the left?
The tall one on the left is Walter Villadé from Italy.
Gotcha.
He's the mission pilot.
Right.
That's Sian's position.
Yes.
Alper Javeravacci.
Yeah. So Alper Javeravacci. I hope that was close enough.
First astronaut from Turkey.
Yes. And then we have Marcus Wandt, and then Michael Lopez Alegria, the commander of Axiom 3.
Now, Michael Lopez Allegra, nicknamed LA, of course, a NASA astronaut, flew 4 times with NASA. And this is his second command of an Axiom spacecraft. He did Axiom 1, obviously, and Axiom 3. I've never met him. We've had some people that know him pretty well. Great guy. And he and Peggy Whitson, the most experienced woman space flyer, are the leaders of the astronauts there at Axiom. And why do they need Axiom astronauts? Because they're going to build this in the next 4 years. They're going to build a spaceship attached to the International Space Station. A space station attached to it. First segment is scheduled to go up in April. Don't know if that's on track. Do you guys know if that's on track yet?
I don't.
But they're going to put these 4 modules together, and it'll be configured like this, and that actually spherical, everything attached to the sphere is part of Axiom. To the right, you see the flat bed in the arm, that's Kibo. That's Japan's space station, which you know very well. Were you allowed to go into some of the other areas?
We actually didn't go to the ISS. We are the only,
That's right.
we're the only mission that have flown from U.S. soil that in the last 20 years since the shuttle era built the station that didn't go
Since
to
Columbia, maybe.
Yeah, we did a free flyer mission. So
Right.
we orbited the Earth for 3 days, and we had a beautiful cupola window, the largest continuous window ever flown in space, and that we could look down on the Earth with.
Yeah, we've got a beautiful picture of you and Arsenault. Is that the
Haley
lady?
Arsenault.
In our women's gallery there. We'll talk to you a little more about your flight there. This is what Axiom wants to do: build a space station that we're going to attach to the ISS. They'll put a power plant solar panel on it, detach it, and then we can all go up there and spend our honeymoons and vacations and stuff like that up there. Not that I've had a couple of honeymoons. I don't need any more honeymoons. But I don't know why that slipped out like that. There is a Crew Dragon attached to the ISS on there,
And so you see where the nose cone is,
Yeah.
and that's where it opens, and that's where the docking is. But for our mission, because we weren't docking to the ISS, SpaceX replaced the docking system with our cupola. So when the nose cone came open on activation, when we got on orbit, we have the forward hatch, the same forward hatch that allows you to go and enter into the ISS. But then for us, when you opened it, you got to float up into the cupola and look back on Earth.
I mean, explain that to us.
It was
night and
wonderful.
day. I mean, how could you pull yourself away from it?
It was
probably?
hard. You're orbiting at 17,500 miles per hour, and we were higher than the ISS. We were at 585 kilometers.
Okay.
So we were
300 and some miles.
Yeah, 360 miles maybe above height, and so we're above the ISS, and And from that perspective, when you floated up into the cupola, you could see a large section of Earth because of that. And it was fantastic.
You in the night.
Oh,
I'm an amateur astronomer,
yes.
so I got to ask you what the night sky looks
The night
like.
sky was, I have a fantastic photo of Orion at night, and it's one of those things because you have a different perspective angle on it. You're like looking and you're like, I think that's Orion. Is that Orion? I think that's Orion. And then you're like, yeah, it is. And so the night sky was beautiful. But I loved looking at Earth and seeing things like lightning from space. And I got to see the aurora borealis or the northern lights from space, and just wonderful things like that.
Uh, I'm letting her monopolize just a little bit here.
I mean, this is a way better story than I can tell. If you
I'm
must please
crying
tell
here.
me more. I want to hear this too much. So.
Well, tell everybody what your background is. You're not a fighter pilot. You're not I don't even know if you fly, but
I
but
do. It's kind of an interesting story. I've been chasing space my entire life. I was born on the island of Guam because my dad was working at the NASA tracking station during the Apollo missions.
The Ascension
And-
Islands,
yeah,
all the way down there, very important.
And so, but they left soon after I was born. But I grew up with NASA memorabilia to my dad. So he got Neil Armstrong's autograph that thanked him for the help that he did while working for NASA there at the tracking station. But I wanted to be a fighter pilot and an astronaut when I was a kid. It was the 80s, Top Gun was the rage, but I was in the Civil Air Patrol and I got glasses. And back in the 80s, you weren't going to be doing any military aviation if you didn't have 20/20 vision. So I switched careers and I became a geoscientist. I got my master's and my PhD at Arizona State University. So I'm a geologist / geoscientist, and I've been a community college professor with the Maricopa Community College District for the last 25 years,
Wow.
teaching geology and sustainability classes, planetary science classes, life in the universe. So just a variety of classes. But I always was still chasing space. So in 2009, I was a finalist for the NASA astronaut selection. And so I got down to the yes/no phone call, and it was a heartbreaking no. And then I repivoted and became an analog astronaut living in Moon and Mars simulations for months at a time. And then finally in 2021, the call for Inspiration 4, where you could win a ticket to space. Right? We were in this new era coming out of COVID. And during COVID, I became an artist and a poet. And I thought, I tried the traditional way with NASA as a geoscientist. Maybe I should go as a artist and a poet, because as you know, 1969, Bill Anders took that famous photo of Earthrise, and when the people asked him about it, he said, "You should have sent a poet." I can't express how beautiful it is. And so I wrote a poem, and that got me my seat to space.
We want to hear that poem someday. We're talking to Dr. Sian Proctor, who's been to space for 3 days with the Inspiration 4 crew. Where's the dates of that?
September 15th, 2021 to September 18th was when we splashed down. And we have a Netflix series called Countdown Inspiration 4, and it's beautifully done because it was also a fundraiser for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. It was $200 million fundraiser, and to date we raised $240 million to help end childhood cancer. And my crew member, Haley Arsenault, is a childhood cancer survivor and the first person to fly to space with a prosthesis.
Yes, amazing. And Jared Isaacman is
correct.
The billionaire who funded this.
Yeah.
And he has his own, I guess you could call it a space company called Polaris.
Yes.
That he wants to, we thought he was going to do the first spacewalk by a private citizen in July. Haven't been able to keep up with what's up with Mr. Isaacman, but I do know he's very much aligned with Elon Musk. I've heard him talk at SpaceCom last year. That's just at the end of this month. And he said that he is on board with Musk. Just keep building these starships until they work.
Yeah,
but what can you say about Mr. Isaacman?
Jared is the most amazing person, not just because he sent me to space, but think about this. It was before Bob and Doug went to space, he went to SpaceX, and said, I'd like to do this sometime. And now all of Jared's friends are fighter pilots, like they are Thunderbird pilots. And he could have, he's risking his life with your crew is everything, right? Who you go to space with, you're relying on them for your life and your safety, that they are going to know what to do in case of emergencies and things like that. But what Jared did was, instead he said, I'm going to fly to space and I'm going to give the other 3 seats away to strangers. And he's paying for it.
Yeah.
So to make that decision to not fly with these people that you fly fighter jets with and that you trust, and you know how they can react under pressure.
Right.
He
yes.
made the conscious decision to go to space for the first time ever in his life. And he has small children and everything. And he gave the seats away to strangers. And we all came together in March of 2021. I won the prosperity seat as an artist and poet. Chris Simbrowski, who's an engineer, he won the generosity seat. And then Haley Arsenault was gifted by St. Jude the hope seat. And then Jared had the leadership seat. And we came together. We trained for just under 6 months. And then we flew to space together for 3 days. And a lot of people thought, what are these people doing? It's this, no NASA astronauts, but we got the same exact training that SpaceX gives to NASA astronauts. And we were able to go and have a successful mission and open the door to commercial space. And now Axiom, they're on their 3rd launch, and just really kind of like setting the tone that if we're going to go out there and we're going to explore and we're going to do these amazing things as humans should, we should also be good stewards of our planet and do good here.
You're one of the kind of people, Sian, that's making it kind of sound easy.
It's not, but I
could a life-changing event.
It was, because I'm a geologist. I'm not an engineer. And then I have my pilot's license because my childhood dream was to fly. I got my pilot's license when I was at 35. I was like, I got my PhD and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something else for myself.
A couple years ago. Huh?
Yeah, I wish.
Jeez.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then but Jared, as soon as I won the contest, he said, congratulations, you won the prosperity seat. And I want you to be my mission pilot.
Man.
And in my head, I was like, does he know that I've only flown a Cessna 172? And I wasn't even current.
Yeah.
But he had the confidence that I would be able to do this. And, the Dragon capsule is autonomous. And so, but you have these flight computers that run through the sequences. And so as a mission pilot, you really, to me, you become a systems engineer. So I had to learn everything about the Falcon 9 rocket and the Dragon capsule, all the contingencies, all the emergencies. And yes, we could take controls. We could do a emergency deorbit. We could do fire pyros and stuff if the drogues and the mains don't fly. So there are really technical things that I had to learn, and I'm not an engineer. So I became a systems engineer in less than 6 months.
Wow.
But I told my students that you can do anything as long as you are passionate and dedicated, that you can learn anything at any age.
Well, you are certainly a great example of that for sure, Sian. Would you go back again?
I would love to go back. So if there's a billionaire out there that's listening and you need
we have plenty of those in our nonprofit here.
Right? Starship. Hey, Starship's a game changer. Like, let's all just come together, get a Starship, go around the moon,
Well,
but I think that's going to be a reality in our lifetime, which will be nice.
We'll see. Well, we'll get back to you here in a little bit. Here, let's talk to Alex here, and you can chime in anytime you want. We're blessed that Dr. Sian Proctor come in here with the National Space Society people here. We got Mike Mongo here. Mike's well known in the space community, and we'll get you on a Shepherd show here one day, my friend. And but let's talk about what's going to happen in just a day and a half here. It's getting down to the hourglass running out here to crank up 9 Merlin engines on 4 humans going to space. Let's look a little bit about the men and the stuff behind that. Here is your friends at the Eurocom, something we've shown before there. You're not in that picture.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to recognize all the people. I definitely see a couple of my current colleagues and some former colleagues.
This kind of an office shot of where you work.
No, this is actually our console room. So
Okay.
you see in the foreground the sign that says Eurocom.
Uh-huh.
That's the back of our monitors that we look at. So on the left you see a colleague with an ESA shirt. That's Angie, and on the right that's Serena. and then there are a couple of people in the back, and the gentleman in the middle actually, that's Hervé, he is training all the ESA astronauts on the spacewalks. So he's our spacewalk person.
Okay. There's a distinction between the Eurocom that talks to just the good morning stuff and what and the spacewalk.
No, well, spacewalks usually are orchestrated and executed by NASA, even though there may be an ESA astronaut on the spacewalk.
Okay.
But that's usually under NASA guidance as they develop the whole plan of the spacewalk itself.
Can I ask you a question about that? When you're on Eurocom, and then NASA has Capcom, how do you arrange who's talking when then? And is it specifically that you're talking only when one of the European astronauts needs something, or that you have to communicate specifically to them, or do you communicate to the entire crew that's up there?
So what happens is usually, so we talk to all astronauts that use ESA hardware and experiments.
Okay.
So that's one thing, which doesn't happen during the spacewalk. So NASA usually, next for spacewalks, they have a Capcom that takes care of let's say the everyday things. But then for the spacewalks, they get an extra Capcom in that has been trained on the EVA as well. And in the past, very often, that was Andy Mogensen, our Danish colleague.
Right, who's up there now as the commander.
Yeah, so he's very experienced in guiding folks as a Capcom through EVAs. And usually, even though ESA astronauts may be involved in the spacewalk, there's not much for us to contribute to. There was one little instance where we got involved in the spacewalk. That was when Matthias Maurer, doing Crew 3, was doing his spacewalk, and he was installing an external platform to the European Columbus module. And there we had to coordinate internally to switch some power lines off before he attached some matings. Again, no communication to the astronaut, but it was part of the orchestrated walkthrough of the spacewalk. Then at some point, here you need to switch off the power, and then we confirmed that, and there was communication behind the scenes that the astronaut didn't hear.
Very good. We're going to look at the past couple missions that you were Capcom'd on and met you on those things. There's Matthias Maurer. He spent 5 months up there. Was that the third? What was it?
So he was Crew 3, I believe. That was increment 66.
And there,
mostly. And it was his first space flight. And I was lucky enough to be here. That's when I met you, actually. Because I was from the crew support function. I was here as the backup with a prime and backup for the crew support that's taking care of the families and friends and so on. And that's when I ran into you, and I was like, let me check out this great
and
museum.
we talked to you on Google Meets and so forth like that. We're going to do more of that with you when you get back to Europe. We enjoy that I find it fascinating that each European mission has a theme to them. And Maurer's was the Cosmic Kiss. And tell us where this kind of develops this theme, and the Cosmic Kiss has got quite a special meaning.
Yeah, so maybe first a little context, like all the shuttle patches, for example. For the European missions, the European crew member who flies, they also can choose a mission name, a mission patch, and then there may be some experiments that are involved with them from the national space agencies or from other European countries. And so this has been going on for a while. So once Matthias' turn came, he chose Cosmic Kiss. And if you want to show that logo again, then I can just give you a little idea what we're looking at. So this is actually based on a Neolithic find that was found, I don't know, not sure exactly when, but it was found in Germany. And they figured out it's, 4,000, 8,000 years old. And it's the first depiction that we have of a night sky on any object that was made.
Hmm.
So he basically wants to connect the past and the future being now, is going to space. And what you see is the round circle is the Earth, and then you see the crescent of the moon, and this is connected through an EKG, like heartbeat, and the red lines in the middle symbolize the ISS.
Very cool.
Yeah,
And
it is cool.
that expresses his love for space, really. So he called it Cosmic Kiss.
And the kiss, of course, contains ISS in it there. Nice little play on words there. And then you had the beautiful Samantha Cristoforetti, she's the longest ESA female astronaut duration, correct?
Yes. She had, I think it was 199 days and a couple of hours, her first mission.
Well, you saw her come back.
I saw her launch as well. So
Right.
while for Matthias I was backup for crew support, for Samantha I was the prime. And then as prime, you get the privilege of being on the landing ship. So I saw her launch and come back.
Yeah, we're going to show pictures of that and
which
talk to you
was,
about
a great
Sian,
experience.
do you see the symbolism in that?
Yeah, the wave of the similar to what Nicole Stott painted, I think.
But it also,
Yeah.
Well, it's supposed to be an owl.
Oh, it's an owl.
yeah, it's an owl too.
Because it symbolizes wisdom.
Ah.
So, but you have the different
I
shades.
see what you're
of,
talking about.
Yeah,
the
because
way,
I was thinking
with
of
the moon eye
Yes.
being the owl too
Yeah.
in there. Minerva, mythological connotations to that. Is
Yes.
there?
Don't quote me on that, but I
Okay,
think
no, we won't.
the Roman goddess of wisdom, but I may be off here by a little bit. So,
Tell us a little bit about this fabulous lady.
well, she's currently our only female astronaut. We have.
So she may go back to space again.
She may go back.
I think she's got over.
We
like
do have
200
some
days.
females in training currently. So as you may remember, ESA about a year ago they announced 5 new astronauts and 11 or 12 reserves, and out of those, about half are women.
Okay.
So we will have a lot more female astronauts in the future. But for now, she's the only one certified to fly at the moment.
Well, 2 men, 2 women flew in your flight there. And
That
of
is
course,
correct.
here it's Martin Luther King Day, and
Yes.
we want to NASA. There's no color, there's no men, there's no women in NASA. It's been that way, really, since we segued out of the rocket jockey, so to speak, that we needed the test pilots to test these things. But here on Martin Luther King Day, the diversity. How do you all think it's going? Being European and
Well, I definitely have an opinion there. NASA's history obviously is coming out of test pilots, which eliminated women from being able to participate. If you think about the Mercury 13,
right.
and then you think about the history of women in space, with Russia flying Valentina, and then it was 20 years later that Sally Ride flew. And then I was in my 20s when Dr. Mae Jemison, the first African American woman to fly to space, went. And I think that we still have some challenges. But what's interesting is that commercial space has only been around really for 3 years,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And in those 3 years, they flew the oldest person, William Shatner. They flew Wally Funk, who was a Mercury 13, the oldest woman to go to space. They've flown the youngest person to go to space at 18.
That young
The
man,
young man. They've flown father and son to space. They've flown mothers and daughters to space. They've flown, and then the diversity. Me as the first African American woman to be a mission pilot. The first female Egyptian woman on Blue Origin, Sarah Sabre.
We've had her on our program.
And Sarah's great. I was at her launch.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and
She was very effective by her
Exactly.
little 15 minutes of flight.
Yeah, and but also the first Mexican-born woman in and so the list goes on and on. So in 3 years, and that's I think what commercial space is about, and this is why NASA champions it, is that it's an opportunity to really create what I call Jedi space, just, equitable, diverse, and inclusive space for all of humanity.
Jedi space, just
just equitable, diverse, and inclusive space. Star Wars name, but a Star Trek meaning. Okay, so
right.
for
I like
both
that.
are, if you're a Star Wars person or a Trekkie, I got you
Yeah.
covered on both ends there, right?
There you go. There you go. Yeah, it is quite. When you think 3 years of commercial space program, and the Artemis keeps saying the first person of color and the first woman on the moon, but I don't care if it's 2 women that go to the moon. Okay, if they're qualified, that'd be fine with me.
Yeah, well, this is another interesting fact. I mean, you look at the space shuttle, there hadn't been an African American assigned to the space shuttle, particularly woman, in 20 years. And it was the first person to actually go was Jessica Watkins. And that just happened 2 years ago. So you had decades of all of these experiments and videos and conferences from the International Space Station, and there were no women, Black women represented in 20 years, and
I
then
didn't know that was the gap on that.
Yes.
That does make
Yes.
sense. We had a big gap with the Black American, African American too, the male.
yes,
Um,
until Victor flew.
you're right. Yeah,
yes,
Victor Glover,
exactly. And so,
it was. I could see his face. Who was the last one before him? But imagine this: a quarter way through the 21st century, we do not have a American white male in space at this moment. Of the 7 people on the space station, there's no American white male up there.
yeah, first time.
Who'd have thunk that?
Yeah.
Years ago in there, and it doesn't matter, is what.
Well,
the
that's
point
the whole
is
point, is to get to that Jedi space where it is that you've got people there, everybody is working together to uplift everyone and give access and open up access. And I loved what ESA did with the last selection. And looking for the first astronaut who has a I don't even know what term you would use. Handicap yes.
Disability.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that's I need to think if that's the word they're using.
Yes, the word that they're using. But thinking about the fact that we have now, I mean, if you go back to the first Apollo missions, we have 50 years of history. And now we really got a lot of data, and we can start thinking about, okay, well, how do we broaden access? Who can we fly? And do you have to be the best of the best to be able to go up there and have an experience, or to be able to pilot a spaceship? I was the first. I don't know if there's been any other ones as a mission pilot. I'm not a military aviator.
Right.
And I was able to be the mission pilot for Inspiration 4.
That's amazing. That's quite. We're talking with Dr. Sian Proctor. She walked in the building. We didn't get her name on the
And I'm very passionate.
So, Marty, I'm sure our regulars are enjoying this in there. Any comments from anybody on our?
No comments. There are a lot of regulars.
Okay,
on
great.
the list.
Great. Yeah. We'll say hi to some of our friends out there. Continue here with Alex Karl, who's the guy on the hot mic sometimes to the ESA astronauts up there. Let's go to my next slide here that you can both speak of.
Well, can I ask you a question?
Sure, yes, ma'am.
If given the opportunity, would you go to space?
I probably would not,
And why not?
because I have inner ear problems.
So do you feel like
I mean, I would love to, but I think I'd probably be sick.
better living through chemistry?
Okay, really?
Yeah, I
Okay.
didn't feel my best when I was up there, but in a half hour, I got some medicine, and then I was fine.
Oh,
Me
really?
too. Yeah, because there's a 50-50 shot that you will go to space and have space adaptation
Right,
sickness.
yes.
I mean, everybody has space adaptation sickness in some form, whether it's the stuffy nose, the headache, but some people feel queasy. And but now we have medicine to help you if you're not feeling your best.
Well,
and then
That's
Yeah.
but that would be one thing, because I feel like I've had vertigo and stuff like that, and but it's dangerous, and how did you get over the fear?
I didn't have any fear. I was so ready to go.
Really?
Yes. It was
I guess
something-
if I go, because I'm 70 years old, I'd say, well, if I died on this, that'd be great.
Well,
but
I
gotta
kind
die
of said the
somewhere,
same
but-
thing. Like, there were so many worse ways to die. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm dying going to space, doing something that I love, so I just concentrated on my job and enjoyed the ride and, helped advance human space flight and got to paint in space. And it's interesting because reentry is far more dynamic for me than going up, because when you launch, you have the launch escape system. So there's a chance that you're going to survive if something goes wrong, maybe, right? But coming back, your heat shield is either going to hold up or it's not.
Right.
And, and I remember because I've talked to my crew member Haley about this, and Haley was thinking, okay, I might not make it. And I was like, this is great. As the Dragon's doing these big S turns, you can hear the Dracos firing, and you can see the plasma going past the Dragon eyes. I was like, this is the best.
That's
and
cool.
it never even entered my
you
mind.
took it like a universal ride.
Yeah, it was amazing because, but we also had jobs to do. Like, there's times when you can sit back and be like, this is amazing. But as the mission pilot, helping my commander, I'm also on task for thinking, okay, the drogues got to fire. If not, we manually fire them. And so I'm counting down, watching the altitude drop, and then also for the mains, because if you mess up that, then it doesn't matter. You're not going to survive because you're going to hit hit the water. But everything worked just the way it was supposed to. And SpaceX gave us a lot of confidence. They getting to meet them, getting to meet the engineers, seeing the facility, going there for the training, and you just you leave to go launch into space with such confidence in the team and the crew. That everybody's doing their best to make sure that you're going to have a successful mission. And same with Axiom.
Yeah. Alex, how about you? Did you strap in that
I would.
Crew Dragon?
I would be happily going.
She's
yes.
making me confident to go. I mean, once you cross that threshold, you just got to resign yourself that bigger people than me know what the hell they're doing, and I'm just got to do what I'm told to do, or trained to do. Like
Exactly.
You said there.
And you've got good people trying to do, make sure that the safety is there, and so you go and you perform as a team, and hopefully it's a successful mission.
Well, we're going to see those mains come out here in a minute. We're going to say hi to Doug Forrest. He's an artist in Los Angeles, just outside of Pasadena there. I know he's interested to look up your art. Carlton Bailey, how about this, CB, huh? We got a real celebrity here, Alex Karl. I mean,
Exactly.
and Dave Stengy is one of our A-listers up in Michigan. Steve Jokums, he's got the Lake County Spaceport in Illinois. Bet you didn't know there was a spaceport in Illinois there.
I did not.
He's got a business there that does a fabulous job with models and decals on there, Steve. Robert Law's up in Dundee, Scotland. Hope you're enjoying a little hot toddy tonight, my friend.
Taxi Boy Spaceport, first vertical launch facility in Europe. Wow, that's come online.
Yes.
They just got licensed.
Did they?
Yep.
All right, Robert, we want to hear more about that. Gary Gerald is our Vidalia onion farmer in Collins, Georgia. Good to see you, Gary. I was just thinking I hadn't seen your name pop up there in a while. Bill Whiting's up in Michigan, and a snowbird that we can't wait to come down here so we can put him to work in our museum. Cliff Watson, how's your brekkie this morning there in Pomona, Australia, where they're enjoying summer down there in Australia? Tom Usiak is freezing to death in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. He photographed over 60 shuttle launches.
Wow.
Friend of ours. And Larry Pushkar. Larry, good to see your name pop up there. You're probably a Detroit Lions fan too, and happy that they won. So he's up in Michigan. And good to see Marty's handwriting on here. We've missed my friend for a couple weeks here. Let's get through the program here that I got for you that just works out perfect with Dr. Proctor. Here we've got those beautiful mains coming out there. 4 main parachutes. They're going to make sure you get down there softly.
They are.
In
It's
there.
a beautiful sight when you've got 4 healthy mains on your console.
So you watched this as it came down. You were actually inside one of these capsules, and then the splashdown.
Yeah.
Did you feel it? What was that like?
Yeah, once you're under 4 healthy mains, you're kind of like, woo, and you're really kind of enjoying the ride, but then you're counting down. My commander's watching, again, our altitude, and then he'll tell us to brace for impact, and you kind of get in position, and then you splash down, but you notice it because you kind of like hit the water, but it's not bad. But when you bob up, you're just so happy because that's your gold medal moment, right? Because like you get selected, and that's like getting selected for the Olympics, and everybody's like, congratulations, and you're like, no, I still have to compete. and the competition part is really going and having a successful mission. And your mission is truly ended in success when you've splashed down. And so you hit the water, and us in the capsule were like, yeah, there, and you hear SpaceX, and they're like, everybody's like, woo, because you did it. You did it. You successfully completed the mission.
Was yours a daytime landing?
It was. It was evening. We splashed down in the evening, so it was nighttime
were you
by
in
the time.
Pacific? I mean,
we were in the Atlantic.
Yeah,
And
you
so
were the
by the
first
time they
ones
get-
to land the Atlantic Ocean.
We were.
Since,
Yes.
Well,
The
Marty, you
shuttle-
got a question there.
We have a question from Dave Stange. What was the most exciting part of your mission?
Okay. Dr. Proctor?
I think that's me, huh?
I'm still waiting
Yes.
for my mission.
Um,
His was going to Moon
Yeah.
Hut with me.